Alrighty, good evening. Good evening, team. It is great to see everyone. We are super late, so we're going to get this meeting started. I'm calling this meeting to order at super late, 7:50. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Alrighty. Thank you all. Bueno, good evening. Thank you. Team, it is, oh, hi, Aniva. I love to see this room full of my community members. So team, it is March. It is Women's Heritage Month. And so I just want to give a round of applause to all the ladies in the room. Yes! Roberto, you're outnumbered. Awesome. And to celebrate this month, I welcome Maria to the center. Come on over. Or I welcome you to the podium. She's a freshman at Chelsea High School, and she will be dedicating a poem.
Thank you for having me. My name is Maria Adam, and like she said, I'm going to be reading a poem that I wrote for Women's History Month. It's called The Hidden Treasure. Whose treasure is that? I think I know. The owner is smiling at me as I wave hello. Her joy illuminates like a vivid rainbow. She gives her treasure a little shake, fully aware of everything that's at stake. The treasure is inspirational, empowering, and deep, but is always kept underneath her pillow when she sleeps. She has hope she keeps, pushing through the sleek modern world which pretends in its equality, but in the end remains a fallacy. Against all odds, she never fails to keep her head up in a room full of tales. A hidden treasure rests beneath her pillowcase as the stars that were once scattered slowly start to fall into place. Thank you.
What an incredible poem, Maria. Thank you so much. School committee members, any words for Maria? Jeanette or Ms. Velez?
I just want to say, and Maria probably doesn't remember, but I know her since she's been in her mom's womb, and it makes me so happy to see all the accomplishments, all your talents. Keep up the great work, and the sky's the limit. I know you'll do great things, and we're so proud of you here in the community.
Thank you. Maria, sorry, go ahead.
Maria, I just wanted to say that every time I hear you, I'm inspired, and I know that there is such a bright future for you, and we have our eyes on you. And Maria will also be speaking at the Massachusetts Trial Court event next week as a guest student poetry speaker. So I told Maria if she needs an agent, I am her best agent, and that she should start charging, and she and I could go into business.
Maria, the sky is so bright, the sky is the limit, and we are so excited for all the things you're going to do. Make sure to come back and stand right here and give back to the community. We're so excited for you. Alrighty, team, next up, do I have a motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting on the 2nd of February?
Motion to approve. Second.
Beautiful. Next up, we have public comment. Is there anyone in the public that would like to speak?
Madam Chair?
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
So for the record, name and address?
Name and address, you only have 4 minutes. You know the drill.
Okay, thank you. So Judith Garcia, 138 Walnut Street, and I am here as your state representative. I wanted to take a moment to really, in the spirit of Women's History Month, sorry, Roberto, I do want to highlight, acknowledge, celebrate the incredible women who are here. You are all fascinating in so many facets, and I really want to also point out that many of you have 2, 3 jobs, and somehow you find a way to devote even extra time to volunteer, to give back to your community, to be excellent moms, to be excellent dancers, and teach our community how to move and be great. And, you know, I admire every single one of you because you make Chelsea a better place, because you serve as role models for a lot of our young girls who are watching on TV, the young women who are here, and you're all trailblazers in everything you do. So thank you for taking the time. Even today, you started late. You guys are like an hour late, right? And you have been patient. You're devoted here to make our schools a better place. So thank you so much. Thank you for the work that you do. And may we continue to celebrate you, and may we continue to support you and uplift you. Happy History Month for Women. So
Thank you. Miss, no, you sure? Okay. Anyone else? Alrighty, please state your name, your address, and you have 4 minutes to speak.
How's that? Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
My name is Julia Basile, and my address is 29 Hammond Street, Cambridge. First of all, thank you again for supporting the Outdoor Club. 4 teachers and 11 students had a fantastic 3 days of hiking in Bretton Woods, and we shared some photos in the superintendent's updates last week. If anyone didn't see them, I'm happy to pass some along as well. Tonight, though, I'd like to address another topic. This is my 7th year teaching and my 5th year teaching sheltered ELA to multilingual learners and co-taught ELL classes at Chelsea High School. 5 years ago, one of the primary things that drew me to this district was its commitment to welcoming and educating all, and its outspoken promise to support multilingual learners with content and language instruction. I was encouraged by the fact that I would have access to language-specific coaching from someone in addition to my evaluator. Many districts don't offer this sort of support, and in my mind, this really set Chelsea apart in a way that would ultimately lead to the retention of teachers and better outcomes for students. Unfortunately, this year has been different. We have not had a coach for our department since September. The L coach typically also oversees the arts and elective teachers, which means that all of these educators, most of whom are in their 1st or 2nd year of teaching, do not have support of an ELL coach to aid in the language needs of their classes. This is an equity issue and one that is widespread across the country. Anyone who keeps up with the news has seen districts spotlighted for the ways that they're falling short in serving ELLs and struggling to hire and retain qualified ELL educators. Like other departments, we need the expertise of a non-evaluative coach to build on our master's degree knowledge of language acquisition. Please do not leave us at a disadvantage here. Please prioritize the hiring of this position, ideally within the month of March. It cannot be said that there's a dearth of candidates. Last year, all coaching positions were filled by incredibly qualified and committed individuals. Their guidance helped me and so many of us grow professionally and personally in exciting and liberating ways. Their departure, followed by dozens of colleagues, has been the most disillusioning experience of my career in education. I think about it every morning as I walk into the building. Our previous L coach, Chelsea Butterfly Award winner, 10-year Chelsea educator in the Bridge Academy, adored by our department, is still here teaching history and is ready to coach. She reapplied for the position at the end of last year. I personally would benefit from having her as our coach again. So many of my colleagues say the same. Our district has promoted culturally responsive teaching. She was trained under Zaretta Hammond herself. Chelsea is currently promoting dialogical reasoning. She studied dialogical reasoning with leading experts at Stanford in graduate school. She is as talented and qualified as it gets. Thank you for your time. I hope that we can work together to provide Bridge Department teachers and all of the elective teachers with high-quality coaching this year so that our multilingual students have the best possible opportunity to thrive here. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else from the crowd like to speak? Go ahead. Please state your name, your address, and you have 4 minutes to speak.
My name is Badrudin Sadiq. My address is 3 Clinton Court, Chelsea, Massachusetts. I'm a former Chelsea High School student, and I just want to say thank you for everyone here for supporting the school system, and just shout out to Maria real quick, and that's it.
Lots of love, Maria, lots of love. Alrighty, team, anyone else?
I do have one to read.
I'm sorry?
I do have one to read.
Go ahead.
My name is Jean Fisher, and I have been switch this around. My name is Jean Fisher, and I have been a special education teacher at the Hook School for 10 years. During this time, I have had the pleasure of working with multiple students from the city who have Down syndrome. Though incredibly different, each one has brought unique value to my classroom. I have seen firsthand the positive impact that students with Down syndrome can have on the lives of their peers and teachers. I have also seen them make incredible progress as scholars, friends, and community members. These students deserve to be not only accepted, but loved and celebrated. Our district has made great strides over the years to celebrate students' differences and to become more inclusive overall. Students with Down syndrome should be explicitly included in this effort. I look forward to you recognizing them officially. Thank you.
Thank you, Veronica. Alrighty, team, I will now turn it over to Dr. Beta for our presentations this evening.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Mr. Jimenez.
I think we have one.
I'd just like to make a motion to take the resolution now, if that's, is that okay? Yeah. I would just like to make a motion to suspend the rules and go out of order to consideration and action to accept the World Down Syndrome Day resolution for Chelsea Public Schools.
Do I have a second?
I second.
Awesome. Ready, team? Alrighty. Before reading the consideration, I'm going to go ahead and read the resolution for World Down Syndrome Day in honor of Rudy, who is Veronica's son, and all of those students in our district that we love and care for. Whereas March 21st was declared World Down Syndrome Day in December of 2011 by the United Nations at their General Assembly. World Down Syndrome Day is celebrated globally and signifies the uniqueness of the triplication of the 21st chromosome, which causes Down syndrome. Whereas Down syndrome is one of the most common chromosomal conditions in the world and is present in 1 in 800 births across all racial, gender, or socioeconomic lines worldwide. And whereas Down syndrome causes varying degrees of intellectual delays, physical disabilities, and other health issues. And whereas in Chelsea Public Schools, we provide services for our students with Down syndrome that range from speech therapy, occupational therapy, and physical therapy. And whereas in Chelsea Public Schools, we recognize the importance of adequate access to services and inclusive education as being vital to the growth and development of our students with Down syndrome. And whereas participation in the observance in World Down Syndrome Day helps promote awareness through education on the needs of this community and encourages individuals with Down syndrome to fully participate in society. And therefore be it resolved that the Chelsea School Committee hereby, 1, celebrates World Down Syndrome Day on March 21st, 2023. 2, recognizes and commends the family members of children with Down syndrome for their sacrifices and dedication in providing the support for the special needs of children with Down syndrome. 3, acknowledges acknowledges, empowers, and supports the teachers, paraprofessionals, and other educators who possess the desire, care, and skills necessary to teach, assist, and respond to students with special needs, including those with Down syndrome, and who work tirelessly to educate and provide high-quality programming for students with special needs enrolled in the Chelsea Public School District. Be it further resolved that the Chelsea School Committee recognizes World Down Syndrome Day on March 21st in the Chelsea Public Schools. We encourage our students and staff to join the celebration of this special observance. In witness whereof, we, the members of the Chelsea School Committee, have set our hands this 16th day of March, 2023. Veronica, we love you, and we love Rudy. With that, sorry, we took so long in this meeting. With that, team, consideration and action to accept the World Down Syndrome Day resolution for Chelsea Public Schools. May we have a roll call, please?
Mr. O'Regan?
Mr. O'Regan is joining us via Zoom.
Ms. Zabit?
Yes.
Ms. Cabral?
Yes.
Ms. Covas Caraballo?
Yes.
Yes.
Ms. Garcia?
Yes.
Mr. Jimenez?
Yes.
Ms. Velez?
Yes.
Ms. Alfaro?
Yes.
Ms. Hernandez?
Yes.
It's 9 in the affirmative.
9 in the affirmative, the motion carries. Alrighty.
We have one of our students here today, Steve.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, we
Yes, of course. I invite all school committee members to join us with their families to take a photo.
Is he being shy?
He's a, well, he's a, you know.
I take that back.
Yes.
And hearts and
Yes.
hugs.
Sending lots of love their way.
And many thanks to them for joining us.
Of
Yes.
course.
Thank you.
Alrighty, do I have a motion to go back into order?
So moved.
Second.
Awesome. Back to you, Dr. Abeda, for our presentations this
Great.
evening.
So I do have a little bit of a superintendent's report, but I'm going to do some recognitions first so that people in the audience can go home as it's late. So I'm going to start off with our alumni panel. So this past Tuesday, 4 Chelsea High School alumni came together to give back to our community. The near field capacity gymnasium that listened to Joe Resnick with State Representative Judith Garcia, City Councilor and local business owner Teneri Garcia, community organizer and Chelsea Poetry Walk founder Lorenzo Recupero spoke about their time at Chelsea High School. They addressed how what they learned and experienced at Chelsea High School helped them in life. And Joe Resnick gave out 5 scholarship awards, and our students were given the opportunity to appear in his latest music video. I would like to thank our alumni for giving back. Our children were so excited, and we did send around the video, Joe, that you made to all of Chelsea High School. We posted it on our website and all our kids, and it's amazing to hear what our alumni are doing, and we need to do it more often. So I'd like to just say thank you. Thank you for starting such, I think, what could be a tradition of just really recognizing the excellence of our Chelsea High School alumni. And I know one of you said, I think it was Representative Garcia said, be proud of where you come from. Be proud of being from Chelsea. And so I just want to thank you because it was a moment that I'll never forget, the joy that you brought to our students and the hope that you give them and how you inspire. So I just wanted to take this time to say thank you. We have a small little certificate for each of you, and so come, we'll take a photo together, and we just want to celebrate you. Thank you for giving.
Come on to the front. School committee, let's take a picture, please.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Team, before you leave, hold on. A huge shout out to Carol Resnick. For those, if I could get everyone to stand, Miss Resnick used to teach at Chelsea High School for how long? 27 years.
Aww.
And so you are not just the photographer, you're the mama bear, the former educator, the caring person who just spreads so much love every day. And so we just wanted to thank you for your commitment to the city of Chelsea. Alrighty, now y'all can go. Bye, good night. Bye, bye. All good. Quickly. Muchas gracias. Muchas gracias. Alrighty. Bye, guys.
Okay.
Alrighty, back to you, Dr. Beta.
Sure. So for the next one, I would like to thank our custodians and our buildings and grounds crew for the work that they do year-round. Our buildings and grounds and custodians crews, they keep our buildings safe and clean. And on the coldest weekend of this year, on February 4th, I texted Mr. Cooney and said, how are our buildings? And we had a few sprinkler issues, but he said, rest assured that our crew is working on our sprinklers and we will be ready for Monday. And they did. And so while all of us were at home on the weekend resting, our crews were out working to make sure we could get school started and our children could be safe. So I would like to thank all of our head custodians. I'd like to thank Anibal. I'd like to thank Frank Henry. I'd like to thank Joe Cooney, Doug Pena, our senior custodians, and Luis Diaz and Sal Tejeda. And I don't know if I forgot anybody, please. I would like to thank all of our custodians that are here. I do have a few certificates, one for Luis Diaz, Sal Tejeda, Joe Sanchez, or Jose Sanchez, and Jorge Sanabria. Are you all here? Okay, so why don't we come? And Anibal, come with. Anibal, you need to come too.
I know, right?
Don't want to photo bomb.
Madam Chair, can I say something?
Go ahead, Ms. Velez.
So, le quería dar las gracias a ustedes por el trabajo que hacen en la escuela. Sabemos que todos somos como un cuerpo. Si alguien no está, no vamos a trabajar. So, ustedes son tan importantes como las maestras, como los consejeros, como los crossing guards. Todos somos iguales porque sin uno a otro no trabajamos. Gracias. Mis niños fueron a Chelsea Public Schools y mientras que siempre la escuela bien limpia, es un placer siendo una mamá entrando a la escuela y sabiendo que mis hijos estaban en un sitio limpio. So, gracias, le valoramos todo el trabajo que hacen.
Gracias. Que pasen buena noche y gracias. Oh, go ahead. No, do your thing.
Oh, no.
Go ahead.
I just want everybody to know that we take pride in our job. So we make sure that you're safe in the morning. That's why we get up early in the morning to shovel, salt, whatever we do. And you can count on that. You know what I mean? If we can make school happen, it's going to happen.
Yes.
All right?
Yes.
Aníbal.
Thank you. Que pase buena noche. Ciao. Thank
Thank
you.
you,
Oh, I think
Anna.
someone forgot a hat. Okay.
Great.
Awesome.
So, okay, I have two words.
Alrighty, back to business, Dr. Beta.
I
Let's
know.
do this.
Okay, so the next event is exciting. We are sponsoring and hosting the Women's History Month, and Gloria Simon will serve as the featured guest speaker online at the 3rd Annual Women's History Month celebration hosted by the Massachusetts Trial Courts Women's History Month Planning Committee on Tuesday. So that's this Tuesday, March 21st at the Chelsea High School gym. So everybody is welcome. If you'd like to come, the information is online. You can RSVP, or you can watch it online too. So we're excited about that event. And then our cheerleaders are having their first annual Chelsea High School Showcase, which will be March 25th in the high school red gym. That's 11 to 2, so if you can come and support our cheerleaders, that would be greatly appreciated. And the last thing, and we're going to go into this a little bit more, is we have been reviewing our student achievement data with our iReady data, and it's showing that our students are learning and growing, and Mr. Delady is actually going to provide more of a detailed update in just a little bit. So I will turn it over to our Mr. Delady for our indicators of success and our iReady data presentation.
First off, we certainly have some good news to share. Overall, we did see some small drops from the previous month in every grade but 2 for our year-to-date attendance, but we are on pace still to improve over last year.
Excuse
in
me.
grades.
Sorry, Mr. Delady. What page are you on?
The first page.
Oh. Okay, sorry.
So we are on pace to improve over last year in grades 5, 6, 10, 11, and 12. We're still hitting that, feeling the impact of the triple-demic of RSV, the flu, and COVID from December. So that's hurting our annual. The next page, page 2, we can see our last year's data. That's just in there for you to see to compare. So if you skip those pages and go to page 4, this is our iReady data in reading. And you will see in the green, those are grade levels that improved over last year at this time. So in kindergarten remained the same from last year. Grade 1 actually went up 7 points from 14% to 21%. In grade 2, we went from 20% to 28%. We went up 8 points. Grade 3 improved 2 points from 36 to 38. We had a small dip in grade 4, dropped 3 points from 23 to 20. In grade 5, we went up 7 points from 14 to 21. Grade 6 and grade 7 went down 5 and 2 points respectively, and grade 8 remained the same. That is in reading. And just so you know, this is the percent of students performing at grade level. And remember, we're not completed with the grade at this point, so we're not expecting every kid to be at the grade level. As we move on to math on page 5, kindergarten went up 1 point from last year, from 16 to 17. Grade 1 went up 10 points from 10 to 17. Grade 2 went up 8 points from 9 to 17. Grade 3 went up 5 from 13 to 18. Grade 4 went up 7 from 20 to 27. Grade 5 went up 10 from 9 to 19. Grade 6 and grade 7 also dropped respectively 6 and 2 points, and grade 8 went up 4 points from 13 to 17. So we had some really substantial gains in grades 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. On to page 6. This is the high school dropout rate. The goal is to decrease by 2% each year. Last year's rate was 5.38%. Currently, we are at 4.25%. Over the course of the year, over the past month, we've actually had 25 students withdrawn due to long-term attendance. Broken down, our L students are at a rate of 8%, and our non-L students are at a rate of 2.2%. So that still continues to be a struggle for us. On to page 7, this is the mobility data. At the ELC, we've gained 2 students and lost 7. At the elementary level, we have 17 gained and 11 lost. This is transfers in and outs. At middle, we've gained 12 and lost 13. At the high school, we've gained 31 and lost 36. So that's a district total of 62 students enrolling and 67 students leaving. On to page 8. This is the percent of students with failing grades. Grade 9, students who are failing 1 grade we have 95 out of 532 students. Students who are failing 2 grades, we have 78 out of the 532. Students failing 3 grades, we have 53, and we have 15 students failing 4 or more subjects, for a total of 45% of our freshmen are currently failing at least 1 grade. This is something that is a concern to us. But it is also a result of a push towards grade level instruction and grade level standards in the classroom, and really pushing for higher levels of rigor. And we're finding with higher levels of rigor, we need higher levels of support. For our grade 10 students, we have out of 445 sophomores, 71 students are failing 1 grade, 55 students are failing 2 grades, 40 are failing 3, 19 are failing 4, for a total of 41.6% of our sophomores are currently failing at least 1 course. And that concludes the typical indicators for success, and I have some slides in the other document that take a little bit of a deeper dive into our iReady data. For those that aren't aware, we test students in grades 1 through 9 in both math and reading, and the key indicators are percent of students scoring on grade level, and we also have what we call expected growth, which is a year's worth of learning. So we measure the kids who might be below grade level. If you might be 2 or 3 grades below grade level, but you gain 2 years, and then you kind of catch up. So we measure how much learning they do in a year as well. We use median for that. We test 3 times over the course of the year: fall, winter, spring. So this is the mid-year assessment. On page 1, which is slide 2, we do have some strengths to share. We actually have a lot. Our median progress towards typical annual growth, which essentially means that if I'm expected to make a year's worth of learning and I've learned a half a year, I've made 50% progress towards typical growth. So when we use median, we take every student's score, rank them from least to greatest, and take the middle kid. That's our median. So our median progress towards typical annual growth compared to mid-year last year. Math last year, the median was 57. So that means that the middle student had made 57% of a year's worth of growth, which means that half of the kids did more than that, half of the kids did less than that. This year we're at 65, so we went up by 8. In reading, bigger jump. Last year it was 54%. This year it's 70. Percent of students on grade level compared to last year. Math, we went from 14 to 18%. And in reading, we went from 22 to 26. So these are our key indicators, and we're seeing moving in the right direction in all of those. In particular, in math, grades 2, 3, 4, and 8 had median progress towards typical growth above 70%. That means in those grades, at least half of all of those grades are above 70, or at or above 70. The mid-year expectation is 50. And in reading, in grades 2, 3, 4, 7, and 8, they all had median progress towards typical growth above 70% as well. On page 2, slide 3, we also saw some real strengths in our multilingual learners, our L students. We know that in that subgroup, those students are typically scoring below their non-L counterparts. But we were also seeing that their growth was lower as well. This is the first time since I've been working in Chelsea that we've flipped that. And now we have our subgroups scoring, growing at a faster rate than their non-subgroup counterparts. So L progress towards typical growth in reading matches their non-L counterparts, and their median progress towards stretch growth is slightly higher than their non-L counterparts. We need that to be higher than it is, but it's actually, it's a really good thing. And in math, our language learners grew at higher rates than their non-language learners. There are a bunch of things that the MLE department are doing. Particularly, they're trying to develop teacher practice and ensuring that students are meeting grade level content standards every day through integration of WIDA framework and all multilingual learners. So if you turn that page to page 3, which is slide 5, it's more information about the MLE department initiatives, but the coordinator and assistant coordinator, they are collaborating with building leaders to support programming and understanding building specific needs. Another key piece that is not in the slides is that I know you're all familiar with the dual language program, the Caminos program. This is the first year, I'm almost embarrassed to admit it, but it's progress. It's the first year that they've taken foundational L learners into the Caminos program. Previously, it was thought that you need enough English to get through the dual language program, and we kind of threw that out the window this year, and let's see what we can do for these kids. And we're actually finding that foundational learners in the dual language program are doing better than foundational learners that are not in the dual language program. Go figure.
Thank you.
So we're really happy with that. The next few slides are just graphs, so if you have questions about those, I can go through them. We do have some areas of growth, and I'll wrap it up after this. We do know that in math, 36% of students are scoring 2 or more grade levels below their current grade. That is a concerning trend. And in reading, we have 43% of our students are still 2 or more grade levels below. 6th grade, as you heard from the previous slide, 6th grade and 7th grade are both concerns in that cohort. They're the only grade level that did not make the iReady recommended 50% median progress. However, that means that all the other grades did, so please keep that in mind. And lastly, our students with disabilities do continue to achieve at lower levels than students without disabilities. And in some metrics, they're growing at a slower pace, but that gap is also decreasing as the years go on. And lastly, on the last page, just to end on a solid note, we have 4 schools that we'd like to call out. The Hook School has a median of 89% progress towards typical growth in math. That means at the point that we gave the assessment, which was right at the middle of the year, half of the students have had 89% of a year's worth of learning at the mid-year. So half of those students have already almost had a full year of learning. The Sokolowski School had a median of 88% progress towards typical growth in reading. So similar results for Sokolowski, but in reading. The Brown Middle School, and this is a really impressive metric here, they had a median progress towards typical growth in reading of 100. That means that half of the Brown Middle School students got a year's worth of learning and reading by the middle of the year. And lastly, our Virtual Learning Academy, CVLA, they had a median progress towards typical growth in reading of 101%. Now, it's a smaller cohort of only 16 students. However, at least 8 of those students already got a year's worth of learning at the middle of the year. So that concludes my sharing of the data, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Mr. Gilady, I just want to say, I've sat in this seat for the last 8 years, and I was just telling Dr. Beta, this is some super honest data that we needed to see. There's work to be done, but there's also growth to celebrate, and that is, I want to applaud all of the teachers, all of the administrators, all of the central office team members who are truly working their butts off to support our students across every single grade level. So thank you. Thank you to the team. Thank you to our leader. Thank you to this team right here for continuing to never give up on every kid in our city.
Thank you.
Questions, comments for Mr. Delady from the team? Mr. Jimenez, always.
At risk of drawing the ire of our chair for keeping us here too long, I have 3 questions, and you don't need to answer them tonight if you don't necessarily have the data. I'm happy to get it by email later. In terms of the the growth, the annual growth, I'm just curious kind of where this would land in comparison to other districts like Chelsea. Are we doing better, as expected, worse than other districts that look like us? And then the second question that's related to that is, in particular, we're talking a lot about the medians and doing pretty well there. I'm also just curious if we have the data for 25th percentile so that we can kind of get an understanding of that whole curve. And then the last one, kind of going back to the students that are multiple grade levels below, I'm curious if we're tracking the relationship between being grade levels below and how long they've been in our district, and if there's kind of any data showing that if a student has been here for 2 months, they're going to be farther behind, but kind of the longer they stay, the better off, the better they're doing. I'm just curious if we have any data around any of those 3 questions. Thank you.
Yeah. For the third one, we don't have a structure to measure the correlation between how long the students have been in the district. I do know years ago that study was done. That's a pretty big study, and I'm going back to when BU was here. They did that study and actually found that students who were in Chelsea Public Schools from K to 12, there was a substantial difference between kids who were not in that same range for the entire time. There is a slide that I glanced over, and I'm trying to find it in terms of the growth as compared to other districts. And rather than, in the interest of time, it is in there somewhere, and I don't want to skim through all the slides, but we are pretty substantially ahead in growth as compared to other districts who are using iReady, and there's a pretty big sample across the country. That's the beauty of iReady, is we have a large sample, but the growth is particularly in the students who are multiple grades below grade level. Our growth is higher than the median across the country.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And thank you for everything that you're doing.
We have one more question. Ms. Caravaggio? Covas Caravaggio.
Following Roberto's suit, thank you. And then it's kind of like a 2-part question. I wanted to know if for the failing grades at the high school level, I'm gonna not necessarily automatically assume that absences have anything to do with that, but if it did, how is the like when they get to like work their way back into like the good grace period, get into factor into this, and then also because of health issues as far as the other grade levels, I'm sure that that's going to also make a dent into the learning curve of other students. How are we providing some sort of support on the classroom level? I know that we are getting tutors and after-school help, but obviously not every family does have after-school additional support. So, you know, if a student does miss, like, you know, 5 days because of COVID, or they do have health days that they're absent, like, how is that teacher getting that additional support on, you know, different grade levels, and then so that that student with different needs or different attention spans could get back, you know, up to speed. And lastly, for the reading specifically, I know that they're going to be potentially screening for, like, making sure that children are don't have any type of reading disabilities or anything that's going to be potentially setting them back further. Are we already doing that within our district, or is that something that we're still in the works for?
So this year, new legislation came in for screening for dyslexia, and we're in compliance with that.
Okay.
We had to build pretty quickly to be in compliance because the legislation came out with not much notice. But we had some things in place that were more informal. We've formalized those, so we do screen for dyslexia. As far as your question around attendance and the impact on achievement, we know that there's a negative correlation there. The higher your absentee rate, the lower your grades are going to be. I do want to point out that these grades were for Q2, which we were still in the attendance policy being waived. So there's no mathematical automatic impact to those grades. Starting in this quarter, we have our new policy in place. So if you don't meet the attendance requirements, your grade would drop by 10 points. But with a floor of 60. So if you have a 64, it's only going to drop to a 60. So no one's ever going to fail as a result of attendance. They would lose some points, though. If you have an 84, it drops to a 74. As far as supporting students with their absences, we do have a variety of options in place. We have after-school credit recovery. We have Malik Haushin in the audience who does oversee all of that. So there's a long list of supports that are in place for students, but they do have to take part in them in order to get those scores back up. Students are able to make up any work that they miss, but when you miss class time, it is really difficult to make it up. We do have Google Classroom, so you have the ability to go back and see the assignments. There's lots of supporting documents in there for students, but we still have lots of kids failing.
Thank you, Mr. DeLady. Alrighty, Dr. Beta, personnel updates, fund and enclosure
Thank you.
B team.
Great. Okay, so for our personnel updates, there haven't been too many changes. You can see our new hires. There's been more hiring with our security guards. You can see where they're assigned. And then our demographic data for hiring, again, it's 50% Caucasian, 33% Hispanic, 16% Black and Asian Pacific Islander. On our diversifying our staff, we are actually diversifying our staff a lot higher than all the other 5 district partnership districts, so we're very proud of that. And then I'm going to be having Christine Lee do a HR report on our diversification very soon. And then you can see our resignations and retirements. And then I also would like to make mention that we have 9 teachers who are now professional status teachers, and those are Kelly Murray, Anthony Nealon, Julian Burku, Patrick O'Donnell, Trenton Bordock, and Rachel Whitney, and Christina Russo, and Regan Von Wilderness, and Beth Crawley. So these are all of our teachers who have reached professional status as well. So I'd like to say thank you, congratulate our teachers, because they are now, professional status is a huge accomplishment. And so we'd just like to congratulate the 9 teachers that we have. And then for our enrollment report, as you can see, we're growing, but as Mr. DeLady mentioned, we have just as many students coming in as we have going out. So we have a total right now, as of this month, 6,260 students in our district. So that is a good 60 students. Pre-pandemic, we were at 6,200 students. Now we are at 6,260 students. So I'd like to commend these two reports for the record.
Awesome. Thank you, Dr. Abeda.
You're welcome.
Do I have a motion to, ay, se me olvidó the phrase.
Second.
Thanks, team. Alrighty, moving on to unfinished business. I'd like to commend to the record that we had 8 votes in the affirmative for the field trip to NYC, Armory for the Indoor Track and Field Nationals from March 9th through the 12th. So I just wanted to share that. This vote took place via email, but I wanted to commend to the report that the motion carried. Alrighty, new business. Recommendation for appointment to Miss Lori Giraldella, I'm so sorry. I did not know how to read that last. My sincere apologies. Can you say her name?
Miss Lori Giardella.
Thank you. As school business manager, do I have a roll call? If there aren't any questions, would like to do a roll call.
Mr. O'Regan?
If there aren't any questions, would like to do a roll call. Mr. O'Regan?
Yes.
Ms. Zabit?
Yes.
Ms. Cabral?
Yes.
Ms. Covas Caraballo?
Yes.
Ms. Garcia?
Yes.
Mr. Jimenez?
Yes.
Ms. Velez?
Yes.
Ms. Alfaro?
Yes.
Ms. Hernandez?
Yes.
It's 9 in the affirmative.
9 in the affirmative, motion carries. Next up, consideration and action to accept a grant of $37,000 from the City of Chelsea through its American Rescue Plan Act funding for after-school student workforce development for fiscal year 2023 and 2024. If there aren't any questions, roll call.
Mr. O'Regan?
Yes.
Ms. Zabit?
Yes.
Ms. Cabral?
Yes.
Ms. Covas Caraballo? Ms. Garcia?
Yes.
Mr. Jimenez?
Yes.
Ms. Velez?
Yes.
Ms. Alfaro?
Yes.
And Ms. Hernandez?
Yes.
It's 9 in the affirmative.
Motion carries. Next up, we have consideration and action to accept a grant of $34,650 from Mass High for student workforce development for fiscal year 2023. Roll call, please.
Mr. O'Regan?
Yes.
Ms. Zabit?
Yes.
Ms. Cabral?
Yes.
Ms. Covas Caraballo?
Yes.
Ms. Garcia?
Yes.
Mr. Jimenez?
Yes.
Ms. Velez?
Yes.
Ms. Alfaro?
Yes.
Ms. Hernandez?
Yes.
It's 9 in the affirmative.
Motion carries. Consideration and action to accept a grant of $5,000 and certain team equipment from the New England Patriots Charitable Foundation, Inc. to kickstart a girls' flag football program at Chelsea High School. Roll call, please.
Mr. O'Regan?
Yes.
Ms. Zabit?
Yes.
Ms. Cabral?
Yes.
Ms. Covas Caraballo?
Yes.
Ms. Garcia?
Yes.
Mr. Jimenez?
Yes.
Ms. Velez?
Yes.
Ms. Alfaro?
Yes.
Ms. Hernandez?
Yes.
That's 9 in the affirmative.
Motion carries. Consideration and action to accept a gift from the Museum of Science for robotics equipment and instructional materials with a value of $21,825 for use at the elementary complex. Roll call, please.
Mr. O'Regan?
Yes.
Ms. Zabit?
Yes.
Ms. Cabral?
Yes.
Ms. Covas Caraballo?
Yes.
Ms. Garcia?
Yes.
Mr. Jimenez?
Yes.
Ms. Velez?
Yes.
Ms. Alfaro?
Yes.
Ms. Hernandez?
Yes.
That's 9 in the affirmative.
Motion carries. Consideration and action to accept a grant of up to $50,000 from DESE for the MA Fresh grant for fiscal year 2023 to 2024. Roll call, please.
Mr. O'Regan?
Yes.
Ms. Abbott?
Yes.
Ms. Cabral?
Yes.
Ms. Covas Caraballo?
Yes.
Ms. Garcia?
Yes.
Mr. Jimenez?
Yes.
Ms. Velez?
Yes.
Ms. Alfaro?
Yes.
Ms. Hernandez?
Yes.
9 in the affirmative.
Motion carries. Next up, we have consideration and action to accept a gift of approximately $50,000 in furniture from the Furniture Trust for teachers' rooms at the ELC. Roll call, please.
Mr. O'Regan?
Yes.
Ms. Abbott?
Yes.
Ms. Cabral?
Yes.
Ms. Covas Caraballo?
Yes.
Ms. Garcia?
Yes.
Mr. Jimenez?
Yes.
Ms. Velez?
Yes.
Ms. Alfaro?
Yes.
Ms. Hernandez?
Yes.
That's 9 in the affirmative.
Motion carries. Consideration and action to accept a gift card in the amount of $515 from Wellington Management Foundation for implementation of the Acceleration Academies. Roll call, please.
Mr. O'Regan?
Yes.
Ms. Abbott?
Yes.
Ms. Cabral?
Yes.
Ms. Covas Caraballo?
Yes.
Ms. Garcia?
Yes.
Mr. Jimenez?
Yes.
Ms. Velez?
Yes.
Ms. Alfaro?
Yes.
Ms. Hernandez?
Yes.
That's 9 in the affirmative.
Motion carries. Consideration and action to amend the non-bargaining salary and wage schedules for 2022-2023 for hourly positions. Roll call, please.
Mr. O'Regan?
Yes.
Ms. Abbott?
Yes.
Ms. Cabral?
Yes.
Ms. Covas Caraballo?
Yes.
Ms. Garcia?
Yes.
Mr. Jimenez?
Yes.
Ms. Velez?
Yes.
Ms. Alfaro?
Yes.
And Ms. Hernandez?
Yes.
That's 9 in the affirmative.
Motion carries. Consideration and action to accept the updated bullying policy and planning document. Roll call, please.
Mr. O'Regan?
Yes.
Ms. Abbott?
Yes.
Ms. Cabral?
Yes.
Ms. Covas Caraballo?
Yes.
Ms. Garcia?
Yes.
Mr. Jimenez?
Yes.
Ms. Velez?
Yes.
Ms. Alfaro?
Yes.
Ms. Hernandez?
Yes.
That's 9 in the affirmative.
Motion carries. Consideration and action to accept the recommendation of the superintendent to approve a series of field trips to Mount Cardigan in New Hampshire for 8 Chelsea Opportunity Academy students and 2 chaperones on April 26th, 27th, and May 3rd, 4th, 10th, 11th, and 18th. Roll call, please.
Mr. O'Regan?
Yes.
Ms. Abbott?
Yes.
Ms. Cabral?
Yes.
Ms. Covas Caraballo?
Yes.
Ms. Garcia?
Yes.
Mr. Jimenez?
Yes.
Ms. Velez?
Yes.
Ms. Alfaro?
Yes.
Ms. Hernandez?
Yes.
That's 9 in the affirmative.
Motion carries. Mr. Jimenez moves to accept the Chelsea Public Schools calendar for school year 2023-2024. Roll call, please.
Just a motion, I think.
What was that?
You can do a motion, I think, for those.
Ah, perfect.
Oh,
Do I have a motion to accept?
I guess the agenda says that I'm making it, so I move to accept the public schools calendar for year 23-24.
Is there a second?
A second.
Beautiful. Alrighty, next up, Mr. Jimenez. Bueno, síguelo.
Yes, I'm making another motion to accept the homeschooling petition for Chelsea Family A.
Second.
Awesome. Alrighty, team. Great. Any communications? Any announcements?
I have just
Go ahead,
a
Ms.
quick
Cabrera.
reminder for our educators. There's a lot of different opportunities that I'm seeing go out in the weekly update to get licensed, take MTEL, like MTEL support. And so I just wanted to remind all of our educators of these resources. Check that weekly update. That's the only update I have. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you, Ms. Cabral. One quick announcement I have. If you haven't already purchased your autism awareness t-shirt, as you know, April is Autism Awareness Month, so I don't think it's too late, right? They can still, maybe.
That one might be closed out. We might have another school doing it too. But I'll
Awesome.
look
So
into it.
stay tuned for more details. Alrighty. I don't know, I saw it on email.
One of the schools sent it out. Not me.
There'll be others. Alrighty, team, do I have a motion to adjourn this meeting?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
Beautiful. Meeting adjourned.